Before the panhead, before the shovelhead, before the evolution, before every Harley-Davidson you see today, this beast existed. A legend born in Milwaukee in 1936. And right now, this legend is lying in a junkyard nobody knows about. And we found it. Nobody comes here. Broken fences, rusted gates, collapsed shelves, machines that have merged with the earth over the years. Every one of them once burnt up the roads. Every one of them was once part of someone's life. Once there was a key. Once someone started it up every morning and hit the road. And then it was abandoned. We walked slowly through the junkyard, looking in every direction. Crushed cars, bent exhausts, engines that hadn't turned in decades. Everything here has a story nobody continued. And then something caught our eye, something that looks like a meaningless pile to everyone else, but not to us. Our feet stopped. We didn't speak. We just looked. Because some things you recognize before you can explain them. Those characteristic Art Deco lines, that rounded tank, the instrument panel on top of the tank, and most importantly, those rocker covers, standing there like a fist, powerful, distinctive, like knuckles on a clenched fist. Knucklehead. Rust cannot hide these things. Time cannot erase them. Nothing can destroy them. This is a 1936 Harley-Davidson EL Knucklehead. First year, only 1,704 units were produced, and one of them was lying right here for years in a junkyard nobody visited, waiting only for the person who understood its worth. We understood. We knelt down beside it, brushed the rust away with our hands. The frame was intact, the engine cases were solid, the crankshaft turned. Heavy, but it turned. That was enough for us. That told us everything. We called the owner, a short conversation, and then we agreed. From that moment on, this motorcycle was ours. Now it had a purpose. Now it had a future. This story was not over. It had never been over. We called the flatbed, and the loading began. Careful loading, unhurried, measuring every movement. Carefully, we lifted the motorcycle off the ground. It seemed reluctant to leave the earth it had pressed down on for decades. It had fused to it, rooted itself there. But we worked patiently. We eased it slowly up the ramps, ran the straps through, secured every point, made sure not a single small part was damaged, because this mattered. This wasn't just cargo. This was the starting point of Harley-Davidson history. This was 1936. And finally, it was on the platform, safe and ready. And that morning, as the sun had not yet fully risen, as the rusted gates of that junkyard closed behind us, the 1936 Harley-Davidson Knucklehead EL left the place where it had been abandoned forever. I watched in the rearview mirror as we drove. It stood there strapped to the platform, rusted, damaged. It looked tired, but dignified, still upright, as if it knew, as if it had always known this day would come. We were heading to the workshop, to hands that knew the value of this machine, to a mind that understood what it was. This was its first journey in years, but the real journey hadn't even started yet. When it arrived at the restoration workshop, we saw the full picture for the first time, under proper light, without shadows, without the darkness of the junkyard, without anything hiding what time had really done. The damage was heavier than we thought, much heavier. The fuel tank had corroded completely from the inside. The carburetor had seized solid. The electrical system had nearly rotted away entirely. The wiring crumbled between our fingers like old glass. The tires were falling apart. The chrome surfaces had almost completely disappeared, worn down to memory. But the engine block was intact. The frame was rock solid. The crankcase hadn't cracked. And the crankshaft, forced as it was, still turned. That was enough. That was everything. Because this machine had been through far harder conditions, much harder, and it hadn't broken. It had never broken. Not once, not ever. Now, to understand the story, we need to go back a little. The Great Depression. America had collapsed. Unemployment, poverty, despair, a country on its knees, a nation that had lost its confidence. And in this darkness, in this silence, in a factory in Milwaukee, 4 men were keeping their dream alive. Harley-Davidson. For years, they had built flathead engines. These engines were reliable, but they were adequate. Just adequate. Nothing more. And William Harley, the company's chief engineer, wanted more. He had always wanted more. He had an idea in his mind for years, an overhead valve big twin engine, more powerful, more efficient, more modern, something that had never been done before, something that would change everything. But the board of directors was hesitant, a major investment during the Depression era, a major risk. Even just a few months before the launch, there was debate about whether this engine should ever be built at all, whether it was worth the risk, whether the world was ready for it. But William Harley didn't give up. He fought for it. He believed in it. And in 1936, the Harley-Davidson EL came into the world, the first overhead valve big twin engine, enclosed oil system, recirculating lubrication, 4-speed transmission, double down tube frame, Art Deco lines, and those rocker covers resembling knuckles on a clenched fist, powerful, distinctive rocker covers. Years later, a name was given to this engine, Knucklehead, fist, and that name stuck forever. In the first year, only 1,704 units were produced. Every one was hand-built. Every one came off a primitive assembly line. Every one was different in its own small way. And the first engines had problems: oil leakage, valve spring breakage, rocker arm lubrication issues. Harley recalled thousands of motorcycles, sent repair kits to dealers, and patiently solved the problems, one by one, without giving up. Because this engine was too important. This engine had pulled Harley through the depths of the Great Depression. This engine had saved the company. This engine had given America something to believe in again. In 1937, Joe Petrali, on a modified Knucklehead, set a new top speed record of 136 miles per hour on Daytona Beach. 136 miles per hour in 1937. That figure was extraordinary, impossible for many to believe. And the world understood. This engine was real. This engine was different. This engine was the future of Harley. And it truly was. The Knucklehead was produced from 1936 to 1947, for 12 years. Then came the Panhead, then the Shovelhead, then the Evolution, then the Twin Cam, then the Milwaukee 8. All of them carried the legacy of the Knucklehead. All of them were descendants of that 1936 engine. All of them owed everything to William Harley's dream. Today, you see a Harley-Davidson V-Rod. Today, you see a Harley-Davidson Street Glide. Today, you see a Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. At the root of all of them is the engine born in Milwaukee in 1936, in a factory during the Great Depression, by a man who refused to accept ordinary. Now, one example from that engine's first year stood before us, disassembled, laid out across the bench, every part under the light, every part waiting for us, waiting to come back to life.
Work began. First, the frame went to sandblasting. Years of accumulated rust, old paint, dirt, time, all of it stripped back layer by layer. Work that demands patience, work that cannot be rushed, work that has no shortcut worth taking. Work that asks everything from you and gives everything back in return. Under each layer, another layer, more rust, more time, more silence. And finally, the metal that emerged underneath was pure white, clean, solid, untouched. That double-down tube frame designed by William Harley, even after nearly 90 years, was standing rock solid. Not a crack, not a bend, not a single compromise, built exactly as it was meant to be built. The engine was removed. 988 cc's, air-cooled, 45-degree V-twin, overhead valves, single camshaft. Every part was handled one by one, slowly, carefully, inspected, cleaned, measured. The 1936 specific short-ribbed cylinder heads, four-finned cylinders, parts that cannot be found anywhere, parts that cannot be replaced, all checked, all evaluated. New gaskets, new piston rings, new valve seals. The rocker arms were overhauled. The lubrication system was renewed. The very system that caused problems back in 1936, now rebuilt correctly, rebuilt permanently. That engine, capable of producing 40 horsepower at 4,800 RPM, was slowly coming back to life. Slowly, but surely. The linkered carburetor was completely rebuilt. The fuel system was renewed from scratch. The ignition system was checked. The coil and points were replaced. The 4-speed transmission was removed. The tank-mounted gear lever was checked. The foot clutch system was overhauled. Every gear was inspected, cleaned, reassembled. The wiring harness was rerouted from scratch. Every cable, every contact, every fuse, all of it new, all of it clean. The Springer front fork was removed. The oval section fork tubes were cleaned, reassembled. The tank was cleaned from the inside, painted on the outside. Those iconic Art Deco lines appeared again. The same lines that turned heads in 1936, the same lines that still turn heads today. The instrument panel on top of the tank was restored. The original speedometer was brought back to working condition. The chrome surfaces were renewed. The brakes were overhauled. The 18-inch rims were cleaned. Fresh tires fitted. Days passed. Weeks passed. Every morning when we walked into the workshop, a little more had been completed. A little more had come back to life. A little more had returned from wherever lost things go. Part by part, bolt by bolt, patiently, quietly, without rushing, without ever forgetting what this machine was, because this machine deserved it. Every hour, every minute, every drop of attention. And one morning, the 1936 Harley-Davidson Knucklehead EL stood before us, complete, whole, ready. The real moment arrived. We opened the fuel tap, primed the fuel line, ran the final checks, went over every connection one more time, left nothing to chance. Not on this machine, not today. Then we kicked it. Once, silence. Twice, a faint tremor. Something was waking up inside. From nearly 90 years of sleep, something was returning. Something that had been waiting for exactly this moment. 3 times, the engine fired. That deep, heavy, unmistakable 988cc Knucklehead voice filled the workshop. Knucklehead, fist, and it hit like a fist. That sound. The engine trembled, settled, dropped to idle. Nobody spoke. There was no need to speak. That sound was saying everything. That sound was saying 1936. That sound was saying the way out of the Great Depression. That sound was saying William Harley's dream. That sound was saying every mile this engine had ever traveled and every mile it had yet to travel. Then we took it outside. The sun is shining. The engine is running. We slipped into first gear, hand shift, foot clutch, the 1936 way. That 988cc engine was pushing deeply and powerfully. Second, third, fourth. A motorcycle with a top speed capability of 150 kilometers per hour. And in every gear, that feeling, that Harley feeling. The feeling that exists on no other motorcycle. The feeling that has existed since 1936 and will exist long after all of us are gone. Someone had left this motorcycle in a junkyard, the only engine that came before the Panhead, the first year of Harley-Davidson history, as if it was finished, as if it had no value. But it wasn't finished, because some machines live beyond time, because some machines never die and never lose the spirit inside them. This machine's spirit was there. It was there in the junkyard too. It was there in the workshop too. And now it was there on the road too. Just like William Harley, just like the people who restored it. The 1936 Harley-Davidson Knucklehead EL, from the junkyard, free again.